Ross. All right, Ivy League student, turns out they're not as smart as we thought they were. I'm going to get into that right now. We saw students around this country who are supposed to be our nation's best and brightest out on their quads this week cheering Palestine, while booing Israel. This in the wake of a massacre of innocent Jews. But their passion for social justice appeared to wane when students at Harvard and Columbia realized that open support of terrorist groups might hinder their job prospects. So we've been hearing reports that many student groups are rescinding their support of Hamas to ensure that Fortune 500 employment opportunities remain on the table for post-graduation. Here now to talk about this is Newsweek opinion editor, good friend of your show, Batya Unger-Sargon, and for the first time on the show that I know of, Francesca of the Free Press. Welcome to both of you. Thanks. All right, Batya, for you, to see these students in Hunter, also in NYU and Columbia, and the colleges I just mentioned out in the streets, actually supporting Hamas, who just actually annihilated children, women, and now have caused the death of over 2,000 Israelis. What are they thinking?
Thank you so much for having me, Brian, and thank you as a Jewish person for the quality of the coverage you have been giving all week, not taking your eye off the ball and making it possible for us to watch this channel and get the truth about what's happening. Of course, it's incredibly painful to watch these students come out and support Hamas and this horrific terror. It's horrific to see members of Congress come out and not be able to unequivocally condemn Hamas without also dragging Israel into it. They fundamentally can't stand to see Jewish people standing up for themselves against people who are trying to murder them. But I do have to point out, this is very marginal. President Biden has been unequivocal in his support. The State Department released a memo saying that no one is allowed to demand that Israel de-escalate. There's been a lot of support for Israel, and that is a bipartisan position in this country, thank God.
Well, I will say this, Francesca, I did see huge displays for the Palestinians, Hamas, and I didn't see as big for the Israelis. Even though I hope what you say is true, the numbers, my eyes tell me a different story.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, so much for having me on tonight. I was out in the streets reporting for the Free Press on Monday at one of the anti-Israel protests outside of the Israeli embassy. And what I saw there was a lot of deep-seated anger, a lot of fury, a lot of people coming out chanting that Israel should go to hell days after, as we've just talked about, a massacre of now over 2,000 Israelis. And we did see people supporting Israel on the other side, also a lot of emotion, also a lot of passion on all sides here. But what really stuck out to me is people seem to be celebrating when they are protesting against Israel. They seem to be celebrating what was a massacre, and that...
Right. Here's an example. Lawrence Jones went out to talk to them, not to judge them, to hear their point of view. Try to wrap your head around this. Watch.
I support decolonization and liberation of Palestinian people and the end of a mass genocide in the Gaza Strip.
You're talking about the genocide of the kids being beheaded?
That's false. That is actually false.
They get attacked for no reason.
The children got attacked for no reason? The kids that were beheaded?
Beheaded? Yeah, apparently. Like, that's...
But they were Jewish kids.
Wait, Jewish kids?
The U.S. military money that goes there, $4 billion a year, should stop going to Israel to support their war crimes.
So they don't believe it, Batya, or they say they deserve it?
Right. So I think the point I would make is it's horrific to watch that, but that is not the tip of an iceberg of hate for Israel and hate for Jews. That is the extent of it. I have seen so much more condemnation for this and for these students than I have support for it. Condemnation of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez than support for the apologism for Hamas, and that is a great thing to see.
Also at Yale University, this historical anthropologist, Zarina Goral, said that the killing Israeli civilians is called Israel a murderous, genocidal settler state. Got ridiculed for that, but she still has her job. And of course, in Stanford, they told all the Jewish kids to go stand in a room, leave your belongings. That's what it's like what Israel does to the Palestinians.
Here's what I'll say. I recently reported a piece for the Free Press writing about the exodus of wrong thinkers on university campuses, professors, tenured professors who were either pushed out or criticized so harshly they left on their own for making statements such as there are two genders or all lives matter. These professors were pushed out because their words were viewed as violence. But now we're seeing actual violence, and we're hearing nothing from these universities but lukewarm, both sidesism. We're hearing statements saying we're going to pick institutional neutrality now in this moment, now that there's this complex international issue we don't want to weigh in on, rather than hearing strong condemnations for terrorism.
But you do think we're at a turning point for woke? Final thought, Batya?
100%. And I would just urge my fellow Americans to remember that more unites us than divides us. A lot of people think that the security breach for Israel came partly as a result of the big divisions in Israeli societies. Please, please, my fellow Americans, let's not go down that path.
Francesca, Batya, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll
Thank
continue
you.
to follow it. Meanwhile, keep it right here. We'll have another hour of One Nation on this Israel at War segment. Thanks so much for being here. Don't move.